This is video number 2. This is going to pick up kind of where we left off during that first video, which was kind of that introduction. So behind me is my 2015 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Sport. Okay, I know it's not a Rubicon, but there was a reason for that. So this video today is going to cover pretty much my Jeep and kind of what I use it for. I'll share some of the products I use. Again, remember, I don't get nothing for this. No kickbacks, no promos, no discount codes, no nothing, okay? These are just things that I've entrusted and spent my hard-earned money on that have worked really well for me. And if you have a Jeep Wrangler or even another Jeep product, right, these companies have multiple platforms that they might be beneficial to you. So we'll break this down into like three videos. I'll splice them together. I'll do the best I can with what I got, so again, bear with me. We'll do an exterior kind of walk around, hitting on a lot of the products, and we'll do like an interior, covering some of the stuff I have inside as well as some of the stuff I carry day to day, and then we'll do a quick glance at some, we'll say, performance stuff. That's not going to be a very long clip. So again, this is Wilma. This is my 2015 Jeep Wrangler Sport. Okay, I bought this in March of 2015, brand new. It was my gift to myself as I was nearing graduation from the academy. Again, it was bone stock. So what you see now is not how I got it. Think of straight off the dealership parking lot. The reason why I chose a Sport was because of my background in off-road racing and working on Jeeps. I knew that I was going to invest a bunch of money and do a bunch of stupid products that would ultimately kind of trump a Rubicon down the road. The only thing that I would have retained from the Rubicon platform would have been the 4-to-1 transfer case, which quite frankly is the only thing I'm missing. But this Jeep has taken me as far north as Montana to as far south as San Felipe and everywhere in between. It has been on King of the Hammer trails out in Johnson Valley. It has been up in Big Bear, all over Arizona, Moab, again, Mexico. So it's been places. Primarily it was built for rock crawling, but as my family grew and it got away from just my wife and I and into my wife and I and our boys, I kind of tailored back from some of the more technical rock crawling and have kind of done more like, again, overlanding camping stuff, so more adventuring, more roaming. But this Jeep has been on buggy trails, this Jeep has been on dirt roads. The last place I took this Jeep was out in Pismo, where it drove all over the sand dunes and right along the ocean, which was super cool. If you've never been, I recommend it. So let's get started. So nothing jumps out, screams just yet, but we'll do a gradual walk around. I did not wash it. What you see is what you get. She is used, and rightfully so. So quick walk around. Like I said, 2015 Jeep Wrangler Sport. We'll start with the obvious. It's lifted. It's got a 3.5-inch suspension lift thanks to Metal Cloak. It's got their dual rate progressive springs with all of their mid-arm control arms. A little bit bigger, better joints, Heims on one side, so they're rebuildable. So that helped me get it up. Initially I had cut the factory fenders, but I ultimately have removed those. Tires and wheels are 37 by 12.5 by 17 Maxxis Razor. These are the truck tire, so they're a little bit more they're heavier because they have more plywall, which makes them nice for when you're out and about, as far as like getting cuts and stuff. This is my second set of Maxxis Razors, and the last that I had, even after some cuts and splices that I did from driving stupid, not anything from the tire, I was able to plug it and continue driving. So strong tire. Wheels are Raceline Monster bead locks. These are true bead locks. They are not intended for street use, but having my racing background, I raced on bead locks, specifically this make and model, and I just liked them. Looking back now, bead locks are a headache, right? So you have to make sure that your bead lock rings are up to torque, and as you can see, you'll start beating the crap out of the rings on rocks. You'll start busting off bolts. So compared to your traditional wheel and tire combo, yeah, it's a little bit more of a headache. Bumpers front and rear are the Crawler Concepts Rock Crawler or Stubby line, which means I had to cut part of the frame rail for the rear to get this mounted, because it sucks in closer to the vehicle to help with your departure angles as you're going up things. Same with the front. Not only is it narrower as far as in between the frame rails, but again, I had to cut the frame rails to be able to push the bumper back more, to have a less egregious approach angle, as you can tell. Back to suspension, we're using the ADS Racing shocks based out of Tucson, Arizona. That's a 2.5-inch body shock with the piggyback. The rear has the 2.5-inch reservoir with the clickers. As you can see, those red dials, that helps me soften or stiffen the shocks depending on what I'm doing. You can kind of see right there, I also have the 2.5-inch bump stops to help with that up travel when we start getting a little silly or maybe going a little too fast. Since we're back here, we'll cover it. The rear axle is the factory Dana 44. It's got the R-Tech truss with all the R-Tech brackets. So all the factory stuff had been cut off, and I welded on the R-Tech brackets as far as the shock mounts, the upper and lower control arm mounts, and then the coil perches. A buddy of mine did the truss, and I haven't had a need to touch it. With the Metal Cloak kit, I upgraded to the Metal Cloak rear adjustable track bar just for some more fine-tuning adjustments. I was able to get the reservoir shocks up nice and high as far as the reservoirs go, thanks to cutting off my muffler, because normally the muffler sits right in this space. I was able to cut it off and use a different muffler. These are, I don't even know the brand to be honest, but these are cheap steel armor quarter panels. The contours suck. The only reason these are here is because you can't see, but down in here, I was following one of my buddies in a spot that I thought I could do, and I got a little bit too overzealous, and I crunched this whole entire quarter panel into a rock like a soda can. So we used the armor to cover it back up. So we'll talk about the front. So the front is a little bit big. It is not your standard Jeep JK. For what I'm doing now, I don't even really need a lot of this under here, but it is nice to have because it's cheap insurance, for a lack of a better word. Some of the stuff I paid for, some of this stuff I received through, coincidentally enough, my insurance after my vehicle was stolen from me at gunpoint and wrecked, which we can talk about that in another video if you guys want to hear that story. So because I smoked the front Dana 30 and they were trying to complete the job, we were told that we could get any axle that we wanted to within budget. So we opted for the G2 Dana 44. It's a high pinion. It's got 488 gears, big 35 spline shafts with a 35 spline ARB air locker with 1350 U-joints. Some of you, that might not make a lot of sense. For others, you might be thinking that's a lot. But what that means is your axle shafts are bigger. The splines are, there's more splines for engagement, and the U-joints are bigger, okay? Bigger in some reality means stronger. The G2 44 series has these big old Dana 60Cs, and then we upgraded to reed knuckles, and then we upgraded to the 70-75 aluminum steering links, courtesy of Let's Roll Off-Road, and it's got the full PSC RAM assist kit. So it has the RAM, got the cooler, and then you can't really see it, but it's got the, oh, there we go, got the gearbox down in there. So it's a RAM assist, not full hydro, but it does make turning these 37-inch tires a breeze. In addition to the axles, the rear has 488s as well. Obviously they have to match. It has a Yukon Grizzly locker, so it's their version of an air locker, and it has chromoly shafts as well. I also have the Yukon drive shafts, which you can kind of see right there and right there. So those are aftermarket drive shafts, a little bit stronger, more serviceability, and they use the same 1350 U-joints, which means I only need to carry one set of U-joints if I bust a front U-joint or an axle, a drive shaft U-joint. That's pretty much it for the rear. There's other things, right? So people are probably wondering, why do you have a yellow light? Well, it's not yellow, it's technically clear, has a yellow cover, and it's referred to as a dust light. So as you're driving in a group or at night and you're kicking up a bunch of dust, you turn this light on so that people can see you from the rear and they don't hit you and things like that, because this will typically be brighter than your running lights. The red towel is covering up my license plate. I don't need you all stalking me just yet, but this comes off, and I have a spare tire carrier that I can mount in a cinch depending on if I'm going on long trips, which means the dust light gets mounted and then the race radio antenna gets mounted super easy. So versatile, which you'll kind of see as you follow along in more of these videos. I'm a man of versatility. It's nice to be able to use multiple things. Lights for the front are the rigid side shooters. So pretty much you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 LEDs for forward facing. Then they have the 1, 2, 3 for the side that shoot out to the side. I, like many other Jeep owners, had this obnoxious light bar and them pods, and it was ridiculous, and it was China crap knockoff. Spend the money, get good stuff, because these two small pods outpowered everything else that I had initially. So self-recovery is big. Nothing super fancy up here. It's just the Smitty built winch. It's pulled me out a time or two. Yeah, there's other companies that are far superior, but for my application, this works for me. However, I did upgrade the winch rope to a JM Riggings. A lot more stronger, better customer service, and right here in the United States, out of Utah. And then we did the factory 55 end link, and I use a soft shackle just for safety reasons. So that's the exterior of the Jeep. Covered the front end. Let's Roll Off-Road 70/75 aluminum steering links, G2 core 44 axle with the 35 spline axles, 1350 U-joints, and the ARB air locker. ADS shocks on all corners with rear bump stops, 2.5 inch, 37-inch tires on Raceline wheels. Armor, got the Crawler Concepts bumper. I don't know the name brand for the rear corners, and then the Poison Spider sliders that you can see are bent and have taken a beating. Again, I use this thing, as you can see from the numerous dents and scratches. It works. It's taken me places that many won't ever go or see, and it's a 4-door JK. Now we'll transition to the performance real quick, and then we'll move on to the... All right, there she is, the true V6 minivan motor. Okay, this is my second motor for this vehicle. The first one, like some of the other JKs, have experienced sediment buildup inside the cylinder block, causing the cylinder walls to crack. Mine was one of those. I thought it was just a heating issue due to big tires. Turns out it was something more catastrophic. There is not much in here. I have a simple cold air intake. I have a gel-filled battery for the event of a rollover, that there's no battery acid flopping around. I have, with the PSC kit, the PS reservoir, and that's realistically it under here. Everything else is factory. And then I also have the ARB air compressor to run the front and rear air locker. Everything else is factory. I will tell you, I do a lot of my own maintenance. Some things I don't do, I'll pay friends over at Let's Roll Off-Road to take care of if I just don't have the time or the energy. But there are things that I do myself, because some of these things you can run into out on the trail, right? Common things, throwing a belt. So if you've ever replaced a belt, you can get kind of convoluted of how it's routed. Little cheap trick, do a diagram so that shows how it's ran, right? Also do a date of when you did that change or the mileage. So I know it says 122,000 miles, but with the new motor, it's only like 32 right now. So that's it for the engine. Nothing super fancy. You can see the hood is truly cut to allow some of the hot and the heat from both Arizona and just driving to escape, rather than just sit and saturate everything. I'll take you inside and we'll talk about that. All right, take you now inside. We've talked about outside, so now I'll take you inside. So it looks very much just like a Jeep. Not a whole lot done to the dash or things like that. Probably what sticks out most to everybody right away is the full cage. So this is a Genrite off-road cage. It is 2-inch in diameter due to the weight. They did all their laser scans and everything. So it comes in a puzzle. The boys over at Let's Roll Off-Road Racing were the ones who welded it and then tied it in, mounting it all up. So I had this cage for a while, and it was good initially, but now as like my kids and everything, it's become a little cramped. If I were to do it over, honestly, I wouldn't have the X bar, and I might not even have the harness bar, but that's just because of what we're doing with my family. Start in the front, work our way back. We got the Rugged Ridge race radio programmed to channels that I frequently use with other guys I go off-roading with. Factory transfer case, so 4 high, 4 low. From left to right on the switches, got air compressor, front locker, rear locker, the A-pillar lights, and then the rear amber dust light. For GPS navigation, I use my phone for a lot of things with like On the X or Lead Nav or something similar, but it's got the Mob Armor mount, which I absolutely love because it just stays there and it's nice in regards of it doesn't move. Coming back to the driver passenger seat, driver and passenger seat are the Mastercraft, I think these are the Mastercraft Rubicon suspension seats. So a little bit of a hip bolster, but nice padded suspension, got good leg support. Only downside is it's a fixed back, right? Now, even if it wasn't a fixed back, because of the cage, I wouldn't be able to recline it. So long drives, yes, it does get a little uncomfortable, but for bouncing around in the desert, it's nice to know that your butt is planted. This has a true 5-point harness seatbelt system through Crow Enterprises. So it's got the anti-submarine strap, the lap belts, the shoulder belts with the built-in pads for both driver and passenger. Back seat, where the kids usually hang out. My oldest son hangs out in the booster, and then my younger son still is in his car seat. As you can see, I had the full X bar that went up here and it just made it very uncomfortable, so I cut it out, because now I can sit back here comfortably. My boys sit back here and their legs aren't just pushed up into all the bars, so it makes it a little bit more feasible. Move it around to the very back, and then you can kind of see the cage all the way back. So there's the A pillar, B pillar, C pillar, and then it ties all the way back down to like a modified D pillar. So this is a true full roll cage. It is fully welded, not bolt in. It is strong, it is sturdy. It is not cheap, but you get what you pay for. So once I had the cage, I realized I was still running out of space, especially as we started doing more camping. So I had this Harbor Freight hitch rack that I converted to fit inside, and then when I added the cage, the guys over at Let's Roll bent up some tabs off the cage so that I could drop this on, and it fit here. So it makes it nice because I can still fit my Artec quart crate, which holds all of my fluids, oil, transmission, power steering, coolant. I can fit bags up here, ice chest up here, and secure them down, so in the event of a rollover they don't go flying everywhere. So it's nice because it's doubled my packing ability, because I can fit everything still down here. High lift jack, because big tires require a big jack. I hate using it, but in a pinch, it gets me the ability to change the tire or fix what I need to fix. Just if you're using a high lift jack, be careful, they're super sketchy. Racing was big on safety equipment, and that's something I kind of carried over. A simple fire extinguisher could save your car, but be mindful of how big your extinguisher is and the limitations. So this is a small 2.5 pounder for a small fire. Now if there is a full-on inferno, this probably ain't gonna do much, but you could probably help somebody out save their rig. And that's in there nice and tight. It's on a pull pin and it just all comes out. Something I wish I would have purchased years ago is this sucker. It's from Front Runner. I don't remember the price. I don't think it was super expensive. Sorry, it's a little dirty. But this creates a nice cook space. And then when you incorporate the pull out, you get a little bit more. So it's just a nice area to prep. You got tools or drinks or a Coleman little grill, which is typically what I put up there. It's just, it works, it's convenient, and it's really helpful. So yeah, so that's a brief overlook of the interior. I'll break it down a little bit further to some other stuff. Koozies, every door, they're always important. So down here in the brown bag, I have all my tools that I would need to handle most things on the Jeep. I can do belt changes, I could do like radiator line, those things. I could do power steering stuff. I could pull out axle shafts, change U-joints, remove my knuckles. So I have like what I need in here with some other small pieces or connections or electrical tape. It's cinched down under here just so that, and again, you drive fast or roll over, it's secured under the seat thanks to the tie-in stuff. So really big and important when we were racing was having everything secured so that when you did go flying through the air, nothing came up and hit you. Only thing that's truly not secured in here are gonna be my hammocks. You never know where you might wind up and want to relax or hang out, enjoy the moment. So I carry hammocks. But I also have an ammo can. Fits perfectly underneath the driver's side seat. Bear with me for a second. It's not full as it was, but got some spare MREs in here because things suck. I have a flare, could be used for signaling, could be used to start a fire in wet conditions, and then I have a glow stick. I had a first aid kit in here, but I realized if I needed it, I wasn't gonna be able to get to it in time, so it's moved, which is why that's kind of a little empty. So I'll be putting some more stuff in there. In the very center underneath, I have my recovery bag. So this has my soft shackles and some toe straps. So I have a first aid kit up here. I take that in and out with me. Right now it's janky zip tied up there, but it works and I can get to it. My passenger can get to it. A tourniquet is front mounted so I can easily get to it in the event of if I'm upside down or something. So there's a reason why it's there. I'll go over more in depth of what's in there later in another video. Center console. I have another first aid kit. I have ammunition for a rifle, ammunition for my Glock 19 or 17 depending on what I'm carrying, and then I have a multi-tool setup. We will cover the first aid kit stuff in another video, covering like first aid applications, even touch on some laws pertaining to Arizona as far as like the Good Samaritan stuff, but we'll do that in another video. So that's the Jeep, that's the inside, full cage, that's my blower motor clicking. See, just like everybody else, my car ain't perfect, but it gets me to point A to point B, and it gets me a little bit past that out into the places I like to go and explore. Great for bugging out if I had to, or getting to places many just simply can't go. So it's got a purpose. It was initially intended for rock crawling, and it's kind of evolved a little bit more from there. But yeah, sorry this video is going to be way longer than the first one, but hopefully the content is more enjoyable. Again, that's the Jeep. If you have any questions, feel free to ask either on the YouTube channel or over on the Instagram page for those of you that follow over there. Other than that, have a good week. Be nice to people until you don't have to be. Take it easy, guys. Hey everybody, thank you again for watching. If you have any questions about the product or where to find any of these products, again, I don't get nothing for it, but real quick, suspension was Metal Cloak suspension and Arizona Desert Shocks, or ADS Racing Shocks. Wheels and tires were Raceline Monster Series beadlock wheels, tires Maxxis Razors in the 37-inch flavor. Axles were a combination of factory and the G2, but Yukon components as far as the rear axle, and then the G2 components up front. Steering was Let's Roll Off-Road Racing with their 70/75 aluminum steering links. Steering, actually controlling it, was the PSC Ram Assist. Cage, Genrite Off-Road. You can Google it, you'll find it. And then seats were the Mastercraft with the Crow Enterprise harnesses that I picked up locally here at SDHQ. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to those companies. Andrew over at Let's Roll Off-Road is not only the owner but a good friend of mine. He can get you all of those parts. So if you're local here in Arizona and you like supporting local, cool, I'm all about that. So hit up over those guys and they'll take care of you, because they've been taking care of me for years. As you can see, we're in 2021, bought my Jeep 2015 and still going. So again, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.